When Jane Hedengren went out there to run her first collegiate cross-country meet, I honestly didn't think that much about it, because I normally wouldn't care at all when a freshman runs their first race on the course. But Jane Hedengren is not just any freshman. She went out there and she didn't just win a pre-national meet, because they had other meets for BYU, the reigning national champion in cross-country. But she won this one, broke the course record, and remember, she's doing this for the defending national championship team that was already number one in the nation before she ever ran for them. Those are the facts. But now it's time to put it all in context, because the Jane Hedengren situation is officially a situation, and we do have to talk about it. We just came out of a cross-country world within the last few years where we got Katelyn, Tuohy, and Parker Valby. So yes, this is one of those moments where we have to start making a comparison. Because when Jane Hedengren won this race, just to put it all, throw all the numbers on the board, she breaks the course record. She's more than 20 seconds ahead of the woman in second place. She's the leader in the pre-national meet for a team that is number one in the nation as a freshman. And I'm the guy who does high school national rankings, so I looked at who else was in the race. And I do recognize a few names, one of which is Allie Zealand, who runs for Liberty but was the number one distance recruit in the class of 2024 when she came to college. She was fifth in that race and almost a full minute off of Jane Hedengren. It's not like she didn't perform well, for an athlete like Allie. It's that Jane Hedengren was so far ahead of everybody else, head and shoulders above her peers, that we really do have to believe that this is probably going to continue. Because everybody else was actually trying in that race, as far as I can tell. And if this is where we're starting the negotiations from, Jane Hedengren in college, if this is it, then what does it mean? So, when you make the comparisons, we do have to realize that, yes, the Katelyn, Tuohy, and Parker Valby era, that just finished. And no, Jane Hedengren has not run a national championship meet yet. She hasn't won anything of note. But the talent is there. So if those are the ladies who just came before her, what are we expecting to see? What is the standard? If she is going to be the next something, in this case, the next queen of distance for the NCAA, because every few years we get one, just being real about it, where there's one athlete who separates from the field, and it generally feels like nobody else really has a shot. That's more or less how I see it. And in her case, if Katelyn Tuohy is the standard, because I think she set the standard and then Parker Valby exceeded it. That's just kind of how I saw it as far as in the modern era of women's distance running for the NCAA. And Katelyn Tuohy helps her team win, multiple national titles in cross country. She wins individual national titles indoors and outdoors. She breaks collegiate records. But her freshman year in college, she didn't look like this. She wasn't dominating out the gate in cross country. She just wasn't. Even with all her high school national records and so on, the same record that Jane Hedengren went out and broke, this past year, that was not where she started. It took about a full season, and then some, a little more than that, before Katelyn Tuohy looked like, if she's in a race, y'all are running for second place. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, the founder of SCArecruiting.com, where I rank the best track and field recruits across the entire nation. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I try to read them all. And then Parker Valby happened, where she's in a similar boat, where her first year, her first cross-country season, she ran competitively. She even individually qualified for NCAAs and mixed it up in the top 30. But she didn't look like she's just going to go run over everybody and win everything. That evolved into, remember, Katelyn Tuohy was still there, where Katelyn, they go 1-2, in her second year of cross-country. And when Katelyn Tuohy doesn't win a long-distance event on the track, that season it was Parker Valby. And the following year, Parker Valby decides that, more or less, if I show up, y'all ain't going to win. As a matter of fact, if there's a record out there to go break, I'm likely going to break it, especially if it's a championship, because why not? But it takes time. So this is why this race, this first race of, the Jane Hedengren era, because I think that's what we're going to call it. I mean, that's what I'm expecting it to become. The first race, it was just not what I expected, out the gate. Because we had seen phenoms in the past, like the other women who had the records. The thing about Jane Hedengren, because she basically broke my high school national ranking scale, was coming into her senior year, she was starting to let us know. So like coming out of her junior season, she might be one of those truly elite prospects. Again, when I say truly elite, you have the 4-star athletes who are really, really good. And there's a whole bunch of 4 stars and some are better than others. And you have the 5 stars who are supposed to make an impact at the high level in D1 on a national championship push immediately. She was a 5-star already. But then they're the gap. Because they're the difference on my scale between 97, 98, 99 and 93, 92, 91. All of you are 5 stars, but you're not the same level. Jane was like 96, 97, like that's more or less how I saw her. And Sadie Engelhart was, the queen of distance running in high school, for the duration of that window where they were both running. The thing is that Jane Hedengren forced me to pay attention to her. Because while Sadie Engelhart was going to Olympic trials and breaking high school records and so on, Jane just kept getting better. Her senior year running in high school, the one we just witnessed, it was one of those perfect storybook seasons. Everywhere she went, she dominated. Foot Locker cross country nationals, dominate. High school indoor stuff, like the national championship meets, dominate. I think she went to Armory, New York. I'm just going off head here. Outdoors, come on. It was just one after another. I mean, Arcadia in cross country, just taking out records left and right and making it clear that y'all really don't have a shot. When you look at the leaderboards, when you talk about stat reporting, when I'm considering who's going to go where on the rankings, her time was off the grid. So it's not like she's just number one in the nation in an event. She's number one and nobody is close to her who is second. So second, third, fourth, fifth, they're running a separate race. And then she's out there. That's what we were doing on the track last year. So I guess I kind of should have saw it coming. I didn't think it was going to happen this quickly. And even then, we've seen other phenoms in the past. Why do you think BYU is as good as they are in cross country? They get the best recruits. That's why. It's not rocket science. They get incredibly talented athletes and get them to put on the uniform. Jane going there was not a huge leap. What was a leap was that she would show up on the leaderboards ahead of all those other talented women. Because BYU did not need her to be this fast, this quickly. Again, no shade, just being honest. She could have took some time to figure it out. She could have got 4th, she could have got 5th, on their top 7. That would have been okay. Even if she didn't go top 5. They still could have repeated as national champions without her coming in to, put in this level of work. But if she's going to run like this, there's only one team in the nation that might be able to run with them. And it's because they have the same level of talent in cross country. NC State is it. That's why they're 1-2. They went over to the Nutty Comb Invitational, which might as well be its own pre-national. They took care of business. I covered that in a different video. And no, BYU wasn't there. But BYU, what we've been seeing from them last year to this year, adding Jane into the situation, it's kind of unfair to be able to throw that level of talent on top of the team they already had. But this is the world we're living in. It's the way recruiting is. It's the way recruiting goes. NC State has some of those top women, the talent, whether it's, Sadie Engelhart herself, who isn't really a huge cross-country runner, but she can get some points on the board that, might help you out. Then you have, Angelina Napoleon, who was a Gatorade, athlete of the year when she was coming out of high school. These athletes are out there and they're on NC State's team. It's just BYU can match them 1 for 1. And I really think that when it comes to the national title, obviously the last few point scores between, your 3, 4, and 5 runners is going to make a difference. But whoever went that individual race, at the top, I'm expecting it to be at this point, probably a BYU or NC State runner from what we saw. Because if one group goes 1-2 at, Nutty Comb, and the other, you get Jane going number 1, and BYU, I think, went 3rd at this pre-national. This is basically giving us a glimpse of what's about to happen. Yes, regionals still have to happen. Conference to a lesser degree. I say to a lesser degree. And then you have, because everybody goes to regionals anyway. You don't really need conference. It's just, for a trophy. And then you have nationals. The cross-country season doesn't get much press. It really doesn't. And the only time cross-country becomes something that people even think about, as far as I can tell, is when we get, really, specifically on the women's side, like someone who distances themselves from the field, like gets far away, out ahead of everyone else. And when that woman dominates the headlines, like a Katelyn Tuohy or a Parker Valby, the race now takes on a whole new character. The thing about what we just witnessed was we had both of those women going back and forth for a moment. So it was Katelyn rising to the top with all the hype. Then it was Parker Valby showing that she could meet the hype and exceed it. That is what we just saw. Jane Hedengren is, looks like she's going to meet that level. She's going to be the next to give us that level of performance. And the question is, can anybody else go with her? I don't know. We will find out. And yes, this might be, just an amazing first race for her. And maybe the next few in regionals doesn't all look like that. But going off of the high school season we had last year, I don't think she has any plans on slowing down. Because remember, BYU did not need her to be this good. She just decided to go out there and do it anyway. Because why not? And if that's the case, then I'm pretty sure the headlines are going to be pretty predictable for the rest of the NCAA season. You actually made it all the way to the end of this video. I do have to admit that thank you doesn't do it justice anymore, because you are a real one. And if you want more from me beyond this video, on scarecruiting.com, you can get a ton of resources, like my free recruiting guide, online courses, and much more, including the option to meet with me one-on-one, where my specialty is helping you figure out which schools might actually be the best fit for you. And if nothing else, and you really just want to see more content like this, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.